After Steve from Minecraft was announced in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it got people thinking, could Master Chief also come to this game? Xbox actually commented on this situation, and the answer might surprise you because, well, it kind of surprised me. And a class action lawsuit is currently underway against Nintendo for Joy-Con drift, and it appears that Nintendo is denying Joy-Con drift being an actual issue, which we definitely need to talk about. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and maybe leave a like on this video as well. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. So yesterday, we of course got a look at our latest Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC character, and I don't really think many people expected who we ended up getting as the next character. It was Steve from Minecraft. Now, I've never really played a Minecraft game or anything like that, but to say that Minecraft isn't a cultural phenomenon would definitely be a bit of an understatement. I mean, let's be realistic, it is the best-selling game of all time. It's available across a ton of different platforms. Tons of people still play this game years after the initial release, and of course there's merchandising and stuff out the wazoo for Minecraft and Steve in particular. Now, I can understand why some people were mad that it was Steve because they wanted a different character or something like that, but at the end of the day, a lot of these decisions that are made for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC are simply business decisions. And yes, they do try to appeal to fans, and I think there are a ton of fans out there of Minecraft, especially the younger audience, so to me, it made perfect sense. But of course, what really made this a big deal was the fact that Minecraft is now an IP of Microsoft, showing once again the relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo is still as strong as it was and might be even stronger nowadays. Maybe I need to make a video on that this weekend, talking about Microsoft and Nintendo's relationships going into 2021. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But what about other characters from the Xbox brand, like someone like Master Chief? Obviously, Master Chief, once again, is a huge cultural phenomenon. People absolutely love the Halo franchise. It is a very successful franchise, if not one of the most successful franchises for Xbox. And someone thought to themselves, you know what? I'm going to tweet at the Xbox of France official Twitter account and ask them about Master Chief and Smash Brothers. And not only did they respond to this person's tweet, but the response was very, very interesting. Roughly translated, Xbox of France said the following: he's still waiting for his invitation, then shares a GIF of Master Chief. Now, this isn't some rinky-dink Xbox account or anything like that. This is the legit Xbox of France account. They could have simply ignored the question, but not only did they choose to answer it, they gave a glimmer of hope just by answering it in the way that they did. If Master Chief did come to Super Smash Bros., I think that at least one Halo game, probably something from the Master Chief collection, would also come to the Nintendo Switch as well. Like I said, it's a very interesting situation, the thought of potentially Master Chief being in Super Smash Bros., making this celebration of video games even bigger than it already is. And this weekend, I will be doing a deep dive into the relationship between Xbox and Nintendo so far and going into 2021. But the fact that Xbox of France even gave this tweet the time of day and responded in this manner just makes you think that maybe the door is open for something like that. But the real important question is, would you like Master Chief in your Super Smash Bros. Ultimate game as a DLC character? Let me know in the comments down below. And finally, the Nintendo Switch. I think we've talked about the Nintendo Switch once or twice on this channel. Obviously, I am a fan of the Nintendo Switch. I love the system. I love the hardware, but there is a problem with the Nintendo Switch. The one problem that I think a lot of people have encountered, and that is Joy-Con drift. What is Joy-Con drift? Well, it's essentially where the Joy-Con just sort of takes on a mind of its own, and it just sort of leans to one direction randomly. And you could clean your Joy-Cons out. You could try and do a deep scrub of them, but it seems like nothing really ever works with them. It seems like it's more of an internal thing, and there are tutorials online on how to fix Joy-Con drift that sometimes work and sometimes don't, depending on what sort of Joy-Con drift you have. But Joy-Con drift sucks. At the end of the day, I think we can all agree with that. I have had Joy-Con drift twice on two separate issues of Joy-Cons. I've actually gotten rid of my Joy-Cons completely. I use the little Daemon X Machina Hori pad now because I just feel that it's not only feels better in my hand, but I don't have to worry about Joy-Con drift. And let's be realistic, Joy-Cons are also expensive as well, so if you get Joy-Con drift, it's not like it's something cheap to sort of, you know, fix this remedy this situation. It actually costs money to buy new sets of Joy-Cons. And while Nintendo was somewhat lenient on replacing Joy-Cons initially, they have since abandoned that. Well, because of that, a class action lawsuit from a law firm named Krimmels, Schwartz, Kreiner, and Donaldson Smith is currently underway, signifying that this is a problem, of course. And they've been basically having people reach out to them talking about Joy-Con drift via email. If you're having a problem with this situation, you would email them sort of so they could gauge how big of an issue this was to sort of make this class action lawsuit end up going on. And recently, they've actually sent out the following email to some people who have contacted them about their issues, saying the following: "Thank you for contacting our law firm about the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con drift litigation. We are working on putting together a montage of video clips from Nintendo Switch owners such as yourself as a way to give voice to the Joy-Con drift issues you've experienced. This will be helpful to us in responding to Nintendo's arguments about how this isn't a real problem or hasn't caused anyone inconvenience. In an effort to humanize and demonstrate these issues and their impact on consumers, it would be helpful to our prosecution of the case if you could submit a short 90-second or less video to us describing your experience with the Joy-Con drift on your controllers." Now, at first, everything just seems like standard legal stuff here. They're obviously trying to build a case against Nintendo in order to take this to the next level. But there's something very interesting in that email that is going out to people that I definitely want to highlight, because to me, this says that Nintendo is acting like Joy-Con drift isn't a problem. Let's reread one quick section of that once again, shall we? "This will be helpful to us in responding to Nintendo's arguments about how this isn't a real problem or hasn't caused anyone any inconvenience." Now, to me, that just strikes me as odd because, while obviously it is paraphrasing to some degree, it's probably not the legal terms Nintendo is using in this situation. Nintendo is pretty much denying the impact of Joy-Con drift being a real issue. Now, whether or not they believe that, or whether or not they're just trying to save that or say that to save their own hide in this situation, that's beyond the point. Acting like Joy-Con drift isn't an issue when there has been so many documented cases of it being an issue is just ridiculous to me. Why would you sort of downplay this in order to sort of save face in this situation? Like, I get it, it's not fun to have accusations made at you, but when the accusations are backed up by proof with tons of customers who have experienced Joy-Con drift, including myself, I have personally had Joy-Con drift on 2 separate issues of Joy-Cons. Like, don't downplay this situation. It is a real situation that does impact the way you play games. Newsflash, Nintendo, I love you guys, but in order to play a video game, you have to be able to control the video game. And when you have something like Joy-Con drift where your character just goes off into a separate direction, like, yeah, in slower paced games it might not be that big of a deal, but in a competitive game or something like that, it is obviously a very big deal. So I'm really interested to see where this lawsuit goes, because I think there's a lot of merit behind this lawsuit. Joy-Con drift is obviously a real issue. I have experienced it twice, and many other people have experienced it as well. And for Nintendo to just come along and downplay this situation and say that it's not a real inconvenience and say that it isn't a real problem, I think is a problem in and of itself. I get Nintendo is sort of riding this high right now with the Nintendo Switch being very successful, but you also have to address these issues that are plaguing your hardware, that are still plaguing your hardware to this day. So like I said, it's going to be a very interesting situation to see how this plays out and to see what ends up happening, because Joy-Con drift is real, whether Nintendo wants to admit it or not. Alright, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know in the comments section down below what you think of everything. Are you happy that Steve is in Smash? Would you rather have Master Chief? Do you think Master Chief would be a good fit? And are you looking forward to my deep dive video talking about Microsoft and Nintendo's relationship going into 2021? And finally, Joy-Con drift. Is it a real issue? Spoiler alert, it is a real issue. And of course, have you experienced Joy-Con drift? I'm really interested in your guys' feedback on this. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.